This time, the quick speed shop. We're in the shop. I'm spending lots of money. Check it out. We're going to install this Max line by RapidAir air system. I got lines running all around the garage now. It's for painting the C10. I need an air system. It's only been 18 years since I've been in the shop. Finally got an air system to do some quality work. We're also going to get the rattle cans out and start rattle canning on this truck. That's right, I said rattle canning. Why am I going to rattle can on my high-end restoration? Well, rattle cans have got a place. I'll explain that. So we'll start out on that a little bit. Then we're going to get distracted by airlines. And will they all leak when I get done? I don't know, but you're going to want to stay tuned and find out. All right, guys, we're back at it here at the Quick Speed Shop. I'm working on my C10 truck, and I got a box of goodies from Amazon that we're going to open up. Actually, I'm going to do a tool or unboxing and tool review, I think in a separate little video because I can market it as such, but I'll give you guys a sneak peek. I ended up going with a recommendation video from Paint Society, and I bought this InnoCraft Drizzle D1 spray gun on Amazon. The kit with the paint gun and the cups, I think there's like 50 cups in here, or a cup and 50 liners. And then the paint gun, you bought them together as a package on Amazon. It was 150 bucks. So that's a little bit better. This is better quality than like a Harbor Freight gun, but it's not like a $500 to $1,000 like DeVille Biss or SATA gun or stuff like that. So I pulled the trigger on that. We'll open all these up in a little separate video. And then I was watching DD Speed Shop, and he had this plastic. He was taping it on and then folding plastic down. I'm like, what is that? Oh, turns out for painting houses and stuff and cars and things, they got this plastic in rolls where it comes pre-taped. You tape it on, then it folds down to different sizes. This one is 5 foot by 65 feet rolls. So that was like 25 bucks for 4 of those. So I got those, and then I ordered some more red Scotch-Brite. I'm not really an Amazon guy, and I don't like to pay for that Prime. I just wait for the free shipping. But you know what I hate by Amazon? If you don't belong to Prime, every time it tries to trick you into like, oh, we're going to give you Prime. I'm like, I don't want your stupid Prime. I'll wait the 3 days for you to ship it to me for free, you know, where they just sit on it at the warehouse until the day before. But I don't want your Prime. I'm not going to spend $15 a month on your stupid Prime. So anyways, I always got to battle that. But I am going to take some Rust-Oleum Professional Flat Black, which I've already painted the whole bottom side of the truck cab with this because I'm going to fluid film it later and it really bites into the flat paint. But to save blue paint, because I've only got 2 gallons, I want to make sure that I got enough for the truck. I'm going to paint everything from this line here, like here, and these supports down. I'm going to paint it flat black and around in there because, you know, if you're standing up here, we're at people height now with the hood open, you're not even going to see that. It's going to be all dark and, you know, with the engine in there and the wheel wells bolted in here. So you're not going to see any blue under there. So there's no reason to try to get the gun up, you know, up under there and spray all that. So I'm just going to wipe this off with wax and grease remover. I've already scuffed it all. It's just dusty. I'll wipe it off. I'm just going to rattle can everything here down flat black. And then when I start painting the cab, I won't even mask it off. I'll just let it blow on the black. If it wants to get overspray on it, it doesn't really matter. And we'll just put blue here, so this way I can just shoot it here nice with the gun and not have to worry about getting down under there. I'm also going to paint all this flat black here behind the fender well and the front of the door jamb and down here behind the fender and the front of the rocker. I'm just going to blow flat black in there because you'll never see that with the door open and the fender on. And then we'll do blue here and here and here, but the areas that don't need the blue, they don't need to be blue. They can be black. I'm trying to minimize about 2 gallons of paint, and it should be plenty to paint the outside of the truck. I just don't want to waste, and the inside of the cab, but I just don't want to waste it on spots that aren't going to be seen or whatever. So that's why I painted the cab in epoxy originally, so everything would be coated. And I'm going to use the combination of the flat black where I don't need the blue and go from there. I hope you guys don't think I'm talking too much in these videos and not making enough happen with this stage of the truck. I'm trying to explain all my steps. I've had some comments, people like saying that all you do is talk, you don't do anything. And I like to talk to explain what's going on. Like, you know, I could just make a fast motion video of me sanding and sanding and sanding in fast motion and then be like, okay, here's a truck and here's me sanding and here's the truck done. Like, I'd rather explain the different materials, the different, why I'm doing this, why I'm doing that. Like, you don't really need to see, like, 2 minutes fast motion of me sanding primer. 5 seconds of sanding and be like, okay, you take the sandpaper and you sand the primer, and then you sand the primer over here, then you sand the primer over there, and you're good, right? So that's why I like to have videos where I explain for people that want to see things, like if you're prepping a truck at home, what it's like, and I try to balance out the talking and the action. And right now we're doing a stage of the truck where it's hard to balance action and talking out versus, like, working on a car or like putting the engine in and stuff. There'd be a lot more action, obviously. So hopefully I don't lose a whole bunch of people over the too much talking. But okay, I'm just wiping down my areas with wax and grease remover after I've already gone and sprayed it down with the compressed air. I'm just trying to get the dust off. I'm going to go ahead and rattle can this flat black on it here so it can be drying while I'm doing that separate video for the camera. For the paint gun, And this is like prep ball. It's called prep ball, a wax and grease remover. And you just wipe it on and let it set for a second, then wipe it off. These blue paper rags, paper towel rags, like shop rags you can buy at the store, they tend to work pretty good for wiping things off. They tend to be pretty lint free, which is nice, and they grab dust really well. Obviously, if we're going to be painting this right before it gets ready to paint, you want to have like a tack rag, which is kind of like a cheesecloth type rag that's got, I don't know if it's beeswax, but it's got some kind of like waxy type material on it, and it grabs the dust and hangs onto it. But for what I'm doing right now, just for the rattle can action, this is way more than good enough. I'll get a tack rag when I go to do the actual paint down, and we're spraying in a really nasty environment here, so it's going to be hard to keep it clean. There's going to be dirt in the paint and stuff, but I'm doing the best I can with what I got to work with. This is literally at home in your home garage doing stuff. What did I do with the black paint? It's gone. There it is over here. I am going to apply fluid film to the bottom of this truck and the frame. The frame is actually painted when I got it here. Somebody restored the chassis at some point along the way. This truck's been apart for multiple years because I think I remember seeing it for sale before the guy I got it from bought it, and it had more parts on it, and he took parts off it to put on another truck, so I kind of got it already pre-painted, parted out, but the chassis had been restored, but the paint was real thin up underneath. I had to blow a bunch of paint underneath it, and it's like a satin, and this is going to be perfect for fluid film. Stick to this. This truck's going to sit outside in my driveway. It's like going to be like a nice driver quality hot rod truck, restoration, but it is going to sit outside in the weather. It's going to get driven on, caught in the rain. It's going to get moisture, from the ground coming up on it. So I'm going to fluid film it to just coat everything and keep moisture from attacking the new metal and the paint and stuff for as long as I can, and put a rust protective coating on the bottom side of it and inside the rocker panels and everything else. But so that's why the flat black is here, and I'm not even going to mask nothing, and we're just going to apply it, boom. And like I said, I'm just going to blow it up here a little bit, and then the blue is going to blow down on it, and it will get it where it's going to get it. And I should be wearing a mask right now. I'm sure everybody's like, where's your mask? And guess what? I like the smell of Rust-Oleum, and it's only affected me a little bit. I've only lost about 15 IQ points, but I want to be able to talk to you here for a second while I'm applying it. And I've had great luck with Rust-Oleum Professional. I love it. It's what I paint all my flat black hot rod projects with. It tends to work good. It does fade after a while in the sun, but on the bottom of the truck here, it'll last forever. And it really gives the fluid film a nice surface to bite into. Fluid film grabs right onto it, and it's what I use to just take that fluid film and give it a home to hang on to forever. And why waste the expensive single stage urethane paint on a surface that nobody's going to see. This is not a Pebble Beach rotisserie restoration. It's a driver, a nice driver, and it's going to be way better than it was from the factory. And way more than good enough for who it's for, and who it's for is me. This truck's a keeper. I'm building it how I want to build it, to clone my dad's truck that he had in the 80s. And everything I'm doing for a reason. Even though you might disagree with what I'm doing it for me and doing it for a reason. And sometimes rattle cans come in really handy, like this, where I can get right in here with all these little tight areas. If you're spraying this with a big spray gun, like that gun I just showed you, you've got the gun, if you got the big jug on top, the gravity feed container, it's really hard to get into some of these areas. And if you don't, you're in the middle of spraying everything, you might not see it, and you might not get enough paint coverage on something. But like this aerosol can, I can get right up and close and personal. I can get all the nooks and crannies, and I can just lay it right in here and do what it's got to do. Like I can reverse blow it up into here. That's very hard to do with a big gun. I'll blow down in the rocker, and I can just get this wherever I got to get it. Now it's very shiny because I just blew it on there. That's what she said, but it'll flash off and go flat. But all that, like I said, the wheel well comes in here, so you'll never see any of this again. The wheel well comes down here. Then that section, when the engine is in there, the engine is right up in here. And the exhaust goes down here, and the steering column's here. You're never going to see any of that be blue anyway, so why waste the blue expensive paint on that area? We'll do the blue to here, and when I mask the frame off to paint the truck, I'll just cover the frame of plastic. We'll just let this lay, and since it's flat, any blue overspray will just grab right into it anyways, and it will just shoot the firewall. Good to go. All right, it's the next day, and the flat black has dried on the bottom of the firewall, so now you can see what I'm talking about there. I dusted it in around the bottom of the door pillars, and then I'll just blow the blue on it here, and then I'll just blow blue down. And speaking of painting, I've assembled the spray gun. Here it is here, a plastic cup. I didn't realize the cups are so small, and I've ordered some new cups, some bigger cups, some 600 milliliters. This is only 200 milliliters. But it works awesome so far. I've been testing it out. I did a separate assembly video on it, so you can watch that if you want to see how it gets set up and goes together. But that guy is all ready to go. But we got other air stuff here. Bam! I think I'm going to take a sidetrack here for 1 second, and we're going to stop sanding and painting for 1 second. We're going to assemble this rapid airline system. This is polyethylene, I think it's polyethylene, poly something or another, plastic with aluminum in it, and it's a compression fitting system here, and it gives you aluminum blocks with air fittings and a drain, and hook the line up. I ordered this on Amazon as well. Oh, here we go, HDPE and aluminum. So it's not just plastic, so it won't explode. You should never ever make airlines out of PVC pipe because it can't take the burst strength. These either should be black iron pipe or copper or this stuff here, or like welded stainless steel pipe or something like that. But never ever make it out of PVC, like CPVC or regular PVC pipe. It'll explode on you if you have a higher pressure system, and it can be really dangerous. So this stuff won't ever burst. It's poly HDPE. I think it's rated, 200 PSI. It's rated to at 73, 160 at 140. So my compressor is never ever going to see 200 PSI. Even if I bought a bigger compressor, they only pumped like 175, so this stuff's going to be rated. And the reason I'm doing this is, you see this air hose here on the floor, and you see my compressor. I've got a T coming out of front here. I've got one line going outside for my fluid gun setup, my fluid film. That's a hard line outside, and then I run everything else through this little regulator guy here and down to an air hose. Well, for painting the truck way over here, my air hose barely reaches. That air hose barely reaches here, and to get on the front of the firewall, I had to put two air hoses together, And then I'm fighting with them stretched all over the floor in the whole 9 yards, and it's a nightmare. So what I want to do is come off the compressor, put in the T where that line is, and get up on the ceiling, and I want to run that max air kit, and I want to put an air drop like here or here, wherever, probably here, so I can plug the hose in on this side, my shorter hose, spray this side of the truck, unhook the hose, walk it around to the other side of the garage, and I'll have another fitting over here or somewhere, plug the air hose in here, spray the other side of the truck, and then have room to reach around the front and whatever else. So that's why I bought this kit. It's a 1/2-inch line. It is, let's see, I think it's 100 feet of hose. 100 feet, yeah, 100 feet of tubing. There's fittings and stuff. So let's open this guy up. Get out the blazer raid here. Cut her on open. My blazer raid is, I want to say this was $179 if you're keeping track at home. Ooh, good thing I didn't cut the line with the knife. So here's the line, and there's certain bend radiuses. It comes with T's and 90s and stuff, but you can bend the stuff to, I'm probably just going to kick it around up by the ceiling. We'll see here, but let me unbox it real fast. Here's all your different fittings, and this is a compression type setup. Ooh, O-rings. I need O-rings in there. Okay. So it's a compression type setup here, and it shows you how to cut it and do all that. You got the reamer tool for reaming the tubing. You got a bunch of 90-degree fittings. We got the connectors for the to go into the block, and these blocks here use quarter pipe thread brass elbows or 45s. That's where your air fitting fits on. This one here with the ball valve is a drain line, so you mount these down so it can always drain water out of the line. And then you've got an option to come off the top or off the back. I'm going to come off the top. Okay, after like 3 trips to Tractor Supply Company, I got my fittings all that I needed. I ended up buying some of the fittings right here, the female fittings, 1/4-inch ones from Tractor Supply, and I just put them in instead of using the 45-degree brass ones. I just went straight off them. I've assembled these. This goo on here is just my pipe dope I use. Usually I would use Rector Seal, but I don't know. This is good for pipe dope, but it's for gas and stuff, and I didn't know if it would have something in it that would react with spraying paint on cars, so I used a little bit of Forma-Gasket liquid sealant. This is the 4-way junction block that they give you, and I've added a fitting from my existing hose, and I'm going to run 2 airlines off it, and it's going to mount here to the wall. And then I went and I bought another one of these yellow quarter line adapters, or 3/8 line adapters like I've got over there going outside, and I've hooked it up to my line, and that's going to hook into the block here. I ran out of parts and pieces, and my Tractor Supply is very limited on pipe fittings. So I'm going to hook the hose up to the bottom of this without a drain, but then I'm going to go to a bigger bigger supply house. I'm going to get a 3/8 T, and put in a T and a valve, and then T off the yellow line, so I can have a drain off of this, because if I just hook up the yellow line without that, it'll pool water in the hose, and you'll never be able to get it out there. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start here. We're going to build off the junction block. I'm going to come up the wall with a fitting to a T, and then drop down to the 2 lines, and then the second fitting is going to come up and over, and we'll run it over here somewhere. So you need some wrench space to swing to put these fittings on, so I'm going to leave the screws a little bit loose. I'm going to go right about here. You can't see me. Hold on. I'm going to leave this loose like a goose. Try to get it square. So that guy is just hanging here loose over here. Now, the blue hose, the blue line here, because it's got the aluminum in it, it is kind of stiff, and I want to try to straighten it out and not have it look all wonky. So I'm going to roll it off here and just kind of work it on out. I'm going to use some 1/2-inch EMT conduit clamps to hold this to the wall. I've already taken the end and I've cleaned out the end with a deburring tool, which is here. They give you this deburring tool. You use a small end, you do 3 passes around with the deburring tool, and then you are ready to go here. So to put this together, I took off the nut, and there's like a little ferrule piece or whatever here, and then the compression. There's 2 O-rings in here, and it says you can use some soapy water to get it, which I haven't applied. We're going to try it without it and see how it goes. It bottomed out nice. So the finger, make it finger tight. Oh, nuts. I don't have a marker. And then it said, set that to stay. It said to get it finger tight and then use a marker and put a little line on the fitting. And then crank it 3/4 to 1/4 turn around, or 1 full turn around. So I'll make sure that I'm still set. And I'm gonna crank her. There's half. Ooh, she's tight. Man, I think that's bottomed. I can feel it starting to turn the fitting. So we're bottom there. So I got my line going up the wall. We're going to come up the wall here. And we're going to put a fitting about halfway up. I wonder if I can kind of hang that stuff right there. Let's get the screw gun. We'll tighten the screws to the wall. All right, so we got our junction block mounted there. The yellow hose is going to come up. Oops, I've turned the compressor away, but the yellow hose will go up at the bottom. We'll hook that up last. Let me get a step ladder. Okay, what I'm going to use is a 1/2-inch EMT conduit clamp to hold this to the wall. They have black plastic clips that hold the stuff, but I don't have any, and I trust these guys better than that, so So there we go, we're coming up the wall, and we're going to go across the ceiling over to where I'm going to tee in over here by the light fixture. So let me get down off the ladder. I'll renegotiate here. I'm going to spool some of this out, and then we'll pick up over there where we're going to run across the ceiling. Just going to try to unroll this without kinking it. Just kind of use the ceiling as we go. It's working all right. Boom. Oops. Okay, I got some line run. Let's take a look. Came up and over the ceiling to here, and then we got a T, and then it comes down the wall by the window, which is back here behind the fan, to our first fitting over here. It's a nice height. It's 42 inches off the floor. We got the drain here. That's open, then closed, and I can plug the hose right in here, ready for action to spray. Got my 4 screws, got it locked down. I've got all the fittings tight. I used the 1/2-inch clamps, EMT clamps. Don't really pinch it, but they hold it in place, and the stuff hangs out good because it's formable. I ran it around here. I bent it around the electrical box, left a little loop in it, and I brought it down this side, and I'm about ready to mount the other air fitting here on the wall. So let's do that. Measured up off the floor the same distance so we get the same action on our height of our thing. And I've already deburred the tubing, the deburring tool. So just go ahead and seat this guy. It kind of goes till it locks in, and then you just thread that down finger tight, and I'll put my mark on it. Boom. I'm gonna snug it just a hair with the plier, with the wrench, and then we're gonna screw this to the wall. Then I'll snug it the rest of the way, but I'll snug it by hand a little bit to get her to bite. It really takes a lot of force to make it 3/4 tight there. Let's see, how straight is this going to be? I'm just eyeballing everything, but that looks about good right there. The eyeball master. That one's got a good purchase. How's that look for straight? Pretty straight. Close enough for government work. Oop, that kind of sucked it out of straight, but it's all right. It'll go in. Whoa! Alright, now I can shut off our line there. Boom! And now I can just, now it's mounted to the wall, I can get the rest of the purchase out of the fitting. You really gotta, getting this thing 3/4 the way around really puts a squeeze on her. Where's my mark? Sneaking up on it. Alright, there's 3/4 right there. That seems extremely tight. Boom. Installed right there. It's pretty straight. So there we go. It's right behind the door. Nice height. I can get the hose right on it. Drain down. Won't go into any electrical components here. I got a couple of clamps. I guess I could add one more probably just here because it's in a zone where it's going to get banged into. But it's alright. This stuff is pretty durable stiffness wise. So I've got that done there. Over here on the box at the compressor, I slid the compressor back into place so my hose will reach. Oh, funny thing is, I bought that hose for $18. I found I had one. It was buried behind a bunch of junk. I could have used this. Could have saved myself $18, but we'll save that for future, I guess. So this guy is going to thread into here. And like I said, I'm going to get a T and a ball valve so I can have a low point drain. And I can actually get a longer piece of 1/4 inch, or I'm sorry, 3/8 pipe. And I'll bring it down here. So I'll put the T up high so the line will tee in high, but then we'll have a leg so any moisture can go down the leg and then get drained out down here. So we'll just for grins and giggles, I'll hang this up here just temporarily so you guys can get a look at it. What it's going to look like there. So it's going to hang and flex. And I'll still be able to hang my hose. I use this hook here. I'll still be able to hang my hose. And if it looks like the compressor is leaning, it is, because this used to be the outside of my garage. See where the concrete goes and then it's asphalt? This is the driveway. And this used to be the front door. I added on 10 foot to the garage. And I need to saw the floor off across here where the sill is under the door. There's a crack actually. I'm going to saw it off and then dig all this out and get concrete poured out to the new door. It's only been since 2009 since I put this addition on. So what year is it now? So that would it's only been 16 years working on the driveway here on the floor. Am I in a hurry to get it done? Apparently not, but it would be nice. But anyways, that floor is sloped away from the building. That's why the compressor's leaning at an angle. So eventually that'll all be flat, but for now it is what it is. So back to the line running. I added my second line here. This is going to be for the fitting that's going to go probably over there, but I might put it over there because, you know, I can hook my hose and bring it over, but it would be nice here. And then I'll save, I'm going to have like 50 feet of this line left over at least because I didn't use very much. And you can see the roll that's left. So I'm going to have plenty of line left over to do some more running, like down in my pole barn. I think I'll use it down there. I'll get another kit. And eventually, I'm going to get a new compressor in here because the compressor in here is shot. It's too small. Number one, I want to get a bigger compressor for doing the outside fluid film and maybe doing some outside sandblasting and stuff. So I want to get a bigger, like 7.5 horse compressor when I do the floor eventually. So this 5 horse compressor is old. It's probably 25, 30 years old. It'll go down to the pole barn just for like airing up tires and stuff like that on cars in the pole barn. But I will run some lines in there that can be hooked into that. So I'll save that line and stuff. I'll get another kit in the future at some point and do that. But for now, this will go and I can reconfigure all this when I get a new compressor here later. But we might as well do it now for the future. All right, I got the last connection ready to make here. I went and I ended up mounting the line over here on this wall where it's good. So now I've got 4 points of air. I got 2 here, and then I got 1 over there and 1 over there that face each other. But that'll give me good, my hose will reach to the door. My hose will reach to the door. Hose will reach to the middle, and then if I plug up here, I can reach to the middle from here, and I can also reach over into here to the front of the garage. You know, with the cabinets and the toolboxes, I don't really need air all the way up there because I'm not going to get that close to things. But having the 4 connections in the middle, I think, is going to be the hot setup. I ran it up and over, around the ceiling, down around the electrical box there, and then we're coming down. I've just set it into the fitting here, and I snaked down around the ceiling, and this should be fine behind the compressor. Like I said, with that floor, once I pour the floor, the new compressor will get turned at a 90-degree angle, I think, or maybe not. Maybe it'll get slid back into the wall further. I got some junk behind this one, and it just kind of is what it is. But I got my steel line coming out of the wall, and I got the electric for the compressor back there. So the new compressor, I think, would be a little bit bigger, but it would slide closer. So these lines would be out, not so much behind it. And I might also change it up and put the compressor over here next to this cabinet, right from the, get it right away from this corner. I might do that as well, because I think a bigger compressor is going to be taller, and it might fit there, and I can rearrange this junk here. Anyways, let's mark this guy with our marker and crank her around. Hold me some tension back and crank away. Coming around the mountain. Oh yeah. A little bit more. Dang, bro, where's my line? There it is. Gotta go one more crank. Dang, that's tight. We should be good to go. Let's see, I got my line. This hose is just hanging on here. We got our line, what we can charge. It'll charge the whole system. I think I've got everything closed, so I come over here on my air thing. Let's go ahead and give her a little juice. Oh, here we go. Whoop. Oh no. All that dope, all that stuff I use to seal the threads there is leaking. The forma gasket. Dang it. That's not good. Every single fitting is leaking. Are you serious? Oh, nuts. That's a huge bummer because these guys are locked in. Which air we got? Yeah, we got her to full pressure. Dang it. That's unbelievable. I would have thought that stuff would have sealed those threads right up. Oh, we got leaking in every fitting. Dang it. Well, if I have to, I can cut like an inch off and raise these up an inch if I can't get this unfurl correctly and do it. That's a bummer. Are you serious? What an idiot. Yeah, we got leaking at every single one of those threads I use that goop on. Are you serious? I've been spending hours. I got some brush-on Teflon tape, or Teflon goo. I didn't want to use my Rector seal because I was nervous about it with the... If it had VOCs in it, they're going to affect things. I mean, this is good for natural gas, but I was afraid to use it because of painting. I'm going to have to take this all apart and Teflon tape it all. Or every single one of these fittings is leaking. Well, now I'm completely dismayed with this whole project. Spent $100 in extra fittings almost, and what time is it now? About 5 hours putting this together now, and it all leaks. What an idiot. Oh no, it's even blowing it. Look, it's running it right out of there. Oh no. Well, that's the end of that. I got to take it all back apart and glue it with some Teflon tape or Teflon dope. Anyways, you know what? I'm so dismayed. That's it. That's the end of the video. I'm done. I don't want to film anymore. I'm going to go have a beer about it, like Junkyard Dig says, and think about it. I can't believe that. Anyways, let me give you one last look at the truck. We started on it, and then I got sidetracked. I thought we'd be all set, but the paint is dry here on the firewall. I'm still scuffing. I've got some 600 grit sandpaper coming so I can 600 the roof, and I got an epoxy here. We've got our new paint gun, which you'll see in action on an assembly video, and then you'll see in action next time we get working on the C10 truck here, which is going to be right after I fix all the airlines, because we'll use the new air system when it doesn't leak to spray the new primer and eventually the paint. But this is a good thing today. Run these lines around and get an air system in here. It's actually, I've wanted to do this for quite a long time and just stop dragging hoses on the floor like an idiot. I was dragging hoses there, then I had extra hoses, and you know, we'll just have hoses all over Hell's Half Acre. I've been in this garage for 18 years, and it's taken 18 years to get an air system. And this is, you know, when it's not leaking, I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, I couldn't take it after the outro. I came back, and I was able to take the blocks off the wall, unthread them from the lines. These compression fittings you can't take apart. They mush on, and there's no way to get them apart and pull the plastic off. So that this side is set, but I was able to spin the blocks off, reseal all the blocks. They're good. All 3 blocks are good. This one I can't unspin because of this setup here. I can't unspin it. So I've got a tiny little leak here and the tiny little leak here, but it is what it is. It's barely like, and maybe this goo will set up after a while. It's all I can do without cutting all this apart, but I don't have enough fittings left to refit all this. I need 2 of these, and I've only got 1, and I have more 90s. I could move that up the wall a little bit, but it is what it is. Maybe it'll seal itself up. I'm not going to worry about it. That was my bad, but at least 99% of it is leak-free now, and it'll be nice to have air around the shop. So now I'm done. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I promise I'll be sanding primer and getting ready to put primer on it, if I don't get distracted with some other type of project. I don't know. Thanks for watching. See you later.